I know that we have limited time, but the time is going to pass. And so this idea of being behind, who are we behind? Who are we racing? Who am I standing next to? Whose race am I running? You're running your own. This is your path.
All right, you guys, today's guest is what happens when you mix mom life, midlife, and main character energy, and then add perfect hair for good measure. She's the mom of 5 who spent years doing all the things, raising kids, running the show at home, keeping the proverbial train on the tracks, and absolutely crushing it. And then came that magical/existential moment we all hit, which is this it? At 43, while some of us are still trying to figure out how to drink enough water, she decided to chase a whole new dream: law enforcement. That's right, for the past few months, Sara has been at the police academy, showing up, standing out, and pushing herself every day. She's got a fantastic family, a joy for life that's absolutely magnetic, and the kind of lived experience that makes her so much more than just a future officer. She's someone you want on your team, in your corner, and at your dinner party. She's funny, she's fierce, she's full of stories, and there's literally a song written about her, because of course there is. Welcome to the podcast, Sara Cecil.
Yeah. Well, that one's way nicer than I would have given myself, so I love you. Thank you.
I love you too. I'm so happy to have you here. When I decided I wanted to have a podcast and kind of the subject matter of what I wanted to cover, I knew that I had to have you on because you have such a wealth of information and just like, you are just an inspiring, wonderful, gorgeous creature. And I love to hear anything you have to say.
Well, I appreciate that so much. But I just remember when you messaged me and let me know what you were doing. And I just thought, yes, this is made for you. I was doing this little happy dance. I was cheering because I'm just so excited for you. This is so good. So when you said, I want to have you on, I thought, me? Are you sure? So I'm excited.
Absolutely sure.
I'm excited to be here because everything you're doing is so awesome.
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun. I feel like I can say the same for you, like hearing about what you're doing. I want to hear all about it. But do you think first you can kind of like, before we maybe go into the present, can you give a little snapshot of like, what has your life been like maybe the past 20-ish years? So maybe graduating high school and kind of the path that you followed.
Okay, so I'm going to be married to Kevin for 23 years. And we have 5 kids ranging from 10 to 22. And, everything in between. And so the last 23 years have been crazy. I've been a stay-at-home mom for a good chunk of that just because we made that decision. We discussed it and we wanted someone home with the kids. And it just made sense for me to be able to be home and do, all the things. The carpools and the play dates and the park dates, which admittedly I am a terrible park date mom. I hate going to the park. So I always found another way around it. And Kevin did the, full-time work, full-time school. So we didn't have to take out loans, working nights and weekends and all of the things. And so when we moved here, we took a significant pay cut because coming from Vegas, coming here, it's significant pay decrease. We came kind of having to tighten those straps up a bit and budget a lot better. And then kids all went to school and I started looking at things going, what am I doing? I spent years cleaning and doing that with my mom. And when we came here, I thought, no more cleaning. I'll clean my own house. I don't want to clean for anybody else. And a dear friend of ours was miraculously gifted 2 beautiful foster children, literally overnight. But she did clean houses. And so she said, I have all these clients that need someone to take care of them. Would you be willing? And it was, sort of this blessing that fell in my lap that went, I need extra money. She needs someone to clean houses. This is this perfect match. So I was able to do that for a few years and then transition into my kids' school and be there and get to be with my youngest every day. She got to come with me and then she got to come home with me. From there, I moved into being a bookkeeper at a different elementary school. I was able to do that for 2 years. And then that kind of brings us up to the present. It's been raising babies. And now that some of them are out of the house, it just is that shift in life looking at what for me now.
Where did law enforcement come into the picture?
So good or bad, I have this terrible disease. That's how hard could it be? My whole life, I've actually really struggled with the fact that I felt like everyone else had a purpose but me. It was, well, everyone has a passion for something. Why not me? Why am I left out of this box? Am I just not good enough? Am I just not meant to do anything? Motherhood aside, not including that in that, because motherhood has been amazing and painful and hard and wonderful all at the same time. But it just felt like, what do I have to give? What do I have to make my children proud, to make myself proud? What have I done to contribute? And so I've spent my entire life doing a lot of things well, but not excelling in anything, if that makes sense. So if you want a ceiling fan replaced, I'm your girl. You need a toilet reset because it's leaking, I'm your girl. You want me to lay a wood floor? I'm your girl. Build you a dining room table? Got that. Need a new dress? I'll sew you one. I've sewn prom dresses, wedding dresses, a quilt. I sourdough bread, of course, because everybody did sourdough. I mean, so I have a lot of little skills in my back pocket. One day I decided I wanted chickens, and chickens need a house. So I got on Pinterest like one does and found a picture of a chicken house that I wanted. And I thought, I can build that. And it is, let me tell you, I am proud of that one. I will toot my own horn on the chicken coop. It is adorable. But that's just always been, okay, I can figure it out. So with that, there has still always been this part of me that's struggled not having finished school, not having really achieved anything of measure, or at least how I've viewed of measure. I mean, I have friends that have biochemical engineering degrees, and I mean, you know, all of these things, and I'm just going, hi, I'm a college dropout. Do you want a cookie? Like, you know, not anything awesome. And so I was just in this weird phase of transition where I've got 2 children that have moved out of the house and they're navigating their own lives on their own. I have 2 that are on the heels of that and looking, going, gosh, what am I doing? But I know that I love people so much. If I could say I have a passion, it's people. I love people. And it just so happened, I was at my sister's house and I was just looking at, because I'm already employed through Rutherford County, I thought, I'm just going to see what's open, what's out there. Let's just kind of see. And it showed that there was this opportunity for police, I mean, a recruit position. And I jokingly kind of said, I could do that. And then I went on and on, you know, I'm just kind of kidding, whatever. But I had always loved the idea of connecting law enforcement and the community, like shop with a cop or back to school, back some of the things. Some of my dearest friends, I had an opportunity to work with in the school in an SRO capacity. So, you know, school resource officers. And I loved that relationship with the kids. So I thought, gosh, that would be so awesome to do more of that community outreach, community oriented policing and in that way, but never thinking anyone would take me seriously. So my sister kind of challenged me and she said, why don't you put in the application? Yeah, right. Like I'm 43. I'm far too old. Like they're going to take me seriously. And she said, maybe not, but why don't you just try? It was almost like, okay, why not? And so I put my resume in thinking, and it was a couple days before Christmas. And I'm thinking, I'm not going to hear anything till maybe the beginning of the year. And within 24 hours, I had an email back that said, hey, why don't you fill out this questionnaire? Well, it was a 10-part intensive background check. And I mean, everything that you could possibly think of. So what is the number of your high school boyfriend? I mean, like it was intense.
Wow.
And so it had everything in there. Filled that out. And again, finished it in the time allotted and thought, again, I won't hear anything, you know, till first of the year. Within a couple days after Christmas, I had a physical testing date that was 2.5 weeks out. And I thought, well, if I'm not physically fit now, I wonder if I can get there in 2.5 weeks. And that week was just so crazy because you get this email that just says, Tuesday is your physical test at 7 a.m. And that happened to be one of the coldest mornings that we had had in a long time. And so I show up and it's something like 14 degrees outside. And it said wind chill like -2. or something.
Oh,
I'm thinking, I have to run a physical fitness test. I am a popsicle. How am I going to do
it's
this?
like your lungs are just going to burn.
Everything was burning. I mean, we were all just frozen. And then if you pass the physical, you move on to a written test that same day. And then from there, the next day would be oral interviews. And then there's a gap day where they kind of pair up your scores between your written and your oral. And if you pass those, then they would move you on to the psychological testing aspect of things. And so it was all in a week. And I hadn't told anybody I was doing this. My family knew, but my work didn't know. Nobody knew that I was doing this because I thought, I don't want to tell anybody I'm doing this, because when I fall flat on my face and they laugh at me and they're like, okay, grandma's trying to be a police officer. Like, I didn't want anybody to be part of that torture. So I just didn't say anything. So it's just navigating so many things that entire week.
Then you do all of the things, you realize you've passed all of the different assessments. What's next?
Well, it was wild because I passed the physical one, and that I wasn't super worried about. I thought, okay, we've got a large amount of time. I can do this. Passed it. They said, okay, we'll see you this afternoon for written. Took the written and came out and went, well, not moving on. And she said, we'll see you tomorrow. And she turned around and showed me my written score. And the questions were, I mean, if you were a police officer, how would you do this? I don't know. So
Like different
random
scenarios.
questions. And then I moved on to my oral boards. And again, I mean, I felt like I did okay. So when waiting for the email to see if I moved on to psychological testing and evaluations, the email came that actually said, we'd like to offer you a job. And I was on the phone with Chelsea at the time. And I went, it's 4:00. I don't know that I'm going to actually have gotten an email yet. I can still say I at least passed the written. I at least passed the physical. Like, that's pretty cool. And then that email came through and said, we'd like to offer you a position contingent on passing background and psychological testing. And I went, well, then I'm completely out there. So psychological testing, there's no way I'm passing that. Which actually we've all gotten together and thought, I don't know that any of us passed that. And maybe that's why we're here.
Yeah, they need
Going,
just the right
They're crazy.
blend of like,
Yeah,
is
they're like,
everybody
no,
equally
right.
unhinged?
The most unhinged people on the planet, that's who we need right there. So it was,
my
I
gosh.
wasn't expecting a job offer. I was expecting okay, we're going to move you on to the next phase. And instead it was, hey, we'd like to offer you a position. Do you accept? If you do, we'll move you on. And I went, sure, let's do it.
How did your family react to, hey, mom wants to pursue this new career? Did they have any type of reaction or opinions? Because, I mean, this is not just, oh, I'm going to go from bookkeeping at this school to bookkeeping at that school. This is a very large shift, probably in every aspect. What were their thoughts?
The idea of it and then the practicality of it have proven to be two different things. I think at first it was like, oh, this is really kind of cool. My mom's going to be a cop. And they were very proud of me. They were very, wow, this is so cool. And, telling their friends, did you know that this is what my mom is doing? The initial excitement was there, but I think the gravity of what this career change entails has definitely hit each of them differently. Still supportive, but we're constantly, especially it feels like lately in the news, we're hearing so many different things happen, a shooting over here or a stabbing over here or, some of these big things. And our kids hear those things. And so all of a sudden it goes from, oh, this is something that's happening over here to, oh, this is something my mom could be involved in. This is something that my mom could face. And so there has been a little apprehension, but for the most part, super supportive.
Well, when you think of, okay, when everybody is running from the danger, it would be your role to run toward the danger. And yeah, that's a very scary thing when you think of it. I mean, I'm sure you've heard all sorts of different stats of like, oh, you're this likely to be, injured in the line of duty or whatever. But it's still scary. It's so scary, even with all the training.
It is, but I think that for me, what was it, a week or two ago, there was, a shooting in a little church. And I'm sitting here going, how could that have been different had those parishioners been prepared in a different way? And so my attitude, I think, has kind of shifted in some of this training and learning some of these different things to, this isn't about necessarily just running into the danger. It's about preparation and being on a side of being prepared for these things that are happening, because they're happening. Whether you are in law enforcement or you're not, you could go to the grocery store with your children and something could happen. Are you prepared? And so I'm looking at this as this opportunity that says, yes, people are going to call me not on their best day, but they're calling me on their worst day. They're wanting us to come and fix something hard that is happening to them. But it's also preparing me to be able to take care of my own people when or if bad things happen. So it's just kind of been this shift for me that isn't just the running towards things, but being able to, sort of like that mama bear, I can protect, or I will be able to protect through my training, my own. That's given me a lot of peace.
So there's all the people that are probably in the academy with you and the people that are training with you. They're probably in their 20s. Who knows if they're, how many children they have, things like that. But you have so much life experience and just maturity. Like, you've been raising 5 humans. You've done so much. How do you think that has helped you just in your perspective and your life experience and how you approach training and all the rigorous things that you're doing?
I mean, first of all, the group that I've been lucky enough to participate with, there's 12 of us. And we've every age group, every background, every experience. 6 have been prior law enforcement. And then there are 6 of us that are brand new. And again, we have someone who's 20 who has never lived on their own, who has never gone to college. And so this is essentially not their first job, but sort of. And then everything in between. And I'm actually not even the oldest. There is another woman that got to come in and join later in the group who also has 5 kids, who's 47. And she brings a completely different perspective than I do even. I think that for me, raising kids and being married and then my own experiences, like with my father being killed as a teenager and some of the things like that, has given me unique perspective to be able to come in and do this job. One of our training scenarios that we were doing, one of my training officers pulled me aside and he says, "Quit being such a mom." And I looked at him and I said, "But I am a mom, and I got hired knowing that I'm a mom and all that that entails." Finding that balance between being a mom and having that experience and trying to bridge it with the police, I think it's given me an ability to just kind of go, this is going to be hard. I've done hard.
You mentioned your father being killed when you were a teenager. Can you tell a little bit about that?
We own an auto repair shop. My family did. And it was a case of mistaken identity. There was an employee that worked with my dad that had gotten himself into some situations, and someone came to kill him and instead shot and killed my dad. I mean, my mom was only 37 at the time and had 4 young kids. I was only 16. We didn't know why it had happened at the time. It wasn't until I was in college that the story came out and all that entailed. But I mean, that definitely is one of those things that in the back of your mind, when you're thinking of doing this job, going, I could be there on someone's worst day. I've experienced some worst days. How can I approach this situation with more compassion, with more love and more understanding? Because ours wasn't necessarily met with that. And so I hope to be able to bring that to the table, having experienced some of those difficult things,
Yeah, bringing that empathy, realizing, you're not meeting people on their best day. It's big things are happening, trauma's happening, whether it's crime or injury or car accident, whatever. Absolutely. So just to shift a little bit, so you're partway through the academy, and tell me what has sidelined you a little bit.
So the department that I am with is so wonderful in that they really prepare their officers for the academy and then real life police work. And so we have an opportunity to do a 10-week pre-police academy with similar training before we actually attend the state academy and become post-certified. And so I was 4 weeks in, and it was the day that we were going to be OC sprayed or pepper sprayed, but OC is just the format that we use. And so you are sprayed in your eyes, and then you have to walk down an alley, and you have 3 stations where you sort of fight off an attacker 3 different ways. So the first one is sort of like elbow jabs, and then the second one is knees, and then you have a baton, and then finally you have to identify a weapon that an attacker is holding, get them to drop it, and then cuff them.
Meanwhile,
you
were
hold them
like,
at gunpoint, and you hold your nose and sort of like cover part of your eye. The reality of it is that it's everywhere. It's just everywhere. Luckily, that almost didn't faze me. I mean, it was uncomfortable, but I really didn't have a reaction to the spray, fortunately. But as I threw that first elbow jab, I stepped wrong, and I could just feel my foot pop. It was just like I saw stars, and it got real hot. But I'm like, I am going to finish this out. There is no way I'm stopping. I got this crap sprayed in my eyes. We're finishing this. And so I just kept walking. You can see in the video, you can see what happened. My face went like go mode. I looked mad, and I was hobbling. You could see just like a little limp in my step, and finished it out. Told my lieutenant, hey, I did something to my foot. I think I just rolled it. It'll be fine in a couple days, but I just need to let you know, because that's the protocol. If anything happens, you need to let them know. So I did, and we got an x-ray, and they're like, it's fine. You just sprained it. It'll be fine. So I just kept going. And so I finished out that remaining 6 weeks of training on a foot that was kind of blown apart. I had fractured some of the bone, dislocated others, and I had torn the ligaments in it. But I had been told all along by all these different people, you're fine. It's just rolled. Hasn't been anything. It was in my head. So I just sport tape it, stick it in my boot, tie my boot real tight, and show up and train. And so I am sidelined now because I had to have surgery to have the screw put in and some other procedures done to kind of put it back together. But that sidelined me from the academy, the state academy. I was supposed to go to the academy, and I just said, I just don't think I can. My foot has just not improved. And it wasn't terrible. I mean, again, I'm still training. I was still running with full gear on, your duty vest and everything. It weighs a little bit. And so I was still doing all the things I needed to accomplish. It just wasn't healing. And so my lieutenant said, we've got to get this fixed. We've got to have this looked at. And so they sent me to a surgeon, and he went, I don't know how everybody missed this, but you need surgery now. And you will be non-weight bearing for 3 to 6 months.
And that puts a big wrench in the plans, the timeline,
huge,
everything.
Huge, because when you are planning to go to the academy, it's 12 weeks and you live there. And so we had prepared for me to be gone. I would get to come home late Thursday night and turn right back around Sunday mid-morning and head back up. So I'd get to have about 2 days home, and then the rest of it was living at the academy for 3 months. So the plan was there. So when I got sidelined, it was a complete and total reset with all the things.
So with that reset, I mean, you've been able to really step back and think. I'm sure the reality of this career, that your career in law enforcement, there's before you start everything, kind of your idea of what it's going to be like. Then there's once you're mid-training, you realize this is different, and that might be a good different, might be a bad different. But you being on required desk duty, is there any part of you that's reevaluating, is this still what I want to do? Is this the career that I want to continue pursuing?
Oh, absolutely. There's times, but I think that that's completely normal. I mean, in one of the training days that we had, one of the officers that's been with the department for, I think 17 years or something, he said, if you're not a little nervous and a little amped up every time you go on a call, you probably shouldn't be doing this job. This is one of those things that you need to be aware of what's going on each and every time. And I start thinking, oh my gosh, can I do this? Am I good enough to do this? Am I capable of doing this? And then you get sidelined with something like this, and you think, wait a minute, because again, this was another one of those times when I had deeply prayed about this decision. I did not take it lightly when deciding to, I know I kind of joked about, oh, how hard could it be? Whatever, I'm going to put it in. But the reality of it is that I spent countless hours praying about this decision to do this and to move forward. And I was very, very candid with God, saying, where I'm at in my life. You know what I have going on. You know what I'm facing. You know the decisions. And there was some other big life things happening parallel to that. And so when I was doing this, I'm going, are you sure? Are you sure? And I just kept saying, if this is not right, I'm not in any frame of mind to make this decision on my own. I need a flashing neon sign. I'm not going to understand it any other way. So if this is not for me, I need a pause in the hiring process. I need there to be these sort of roadblocks in my way. And instead of roadblocks, it just was smooth. And I thought, well, this is odd, but it just kept going so smooth. And then I went to be fitted for my uniform and my vest and my duty belt and all of those things. I'm getting fitted for all this. And I meet this wonderful woman who's our quartermaster who takes care of all of our gear, all of us. She said, here, put on your vest. I'll be right back. And I was standing in front of a mirror and I put it on and I just instantly felt so much peace for this decision. And I thought, okay, I'm in the right spot, because it just was overwhelming peace. But then as training continued and you get sidelined and you get hurt, you start thinking, are you telling me that I need to stop? Are you telling me that this is no longer what I need to be doing? It was like, okay, I needed you to get this out of your system. You've made it, you've trained, you've shown you can do it. Okay, yay. Now it's time to redirect. And I'm thinking, not again, not one more time in my life where I do something, but I don't complete it because it's not my thing. And so it's been very discouraging to try and look at this and think, I've put in all this time and all this effort, but not even me. There's that guilt in the effort, the money, and the time that's been put into me as well. They took a chance on me. Again, I'm still boggled. Why me? Why, out of all of the applicants, what did you see in me for this? And so there is a lot of navigating the guilt of getting hurt as well, which is something you don't really anticipate. But that's kind of where I'm at. So yeah, there has been a lot of, is this just not what I'm supposed to be doing? It has
But
been
then
those
you go
thoughts.
back to the experience of, when it has felt right, and kind of broadening your mind to, okay, why did I have this injury now? I mean, would it be because there was a situation that if I would have continued on this road, I mean, you don't know why there would be maybe this delay, but that doesn't
Right.
mean, oh, this is the sign that everything should be changed.
I'm having an opportunity to be with lieutenants and sergeants and captains, and everyone has said, there's a purpose in this. It's okay. There's a purpose. There's a reason. You may never know, but there's a purpose in this. You might have been postponed because there's someone that you need to meet, or there's someone that will need you at a specific time, or you may never know, but trust God. There is a reason for this. And so while I've been a little discouraged in this, everyone else has been so upbeat and so positive and so encouraging. Oh, it's going to be fine. It's a little blip. Don't worry about it.
I'm so happy that that is kind of where your mentality has shifted, because I know there's probably, you feel like you're in free fall, a little bit of second guessing everything when something like this happens.
For sure.
One thing I was wondering, because I guess zooming out a little bit, you talked about kind of trying to figure out where you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to be doing at this phase of life, which is absolutely where I am, which, it's like when you think about motherhood and kind of this stage, I mean, we've been really taught like an anticipatory pattern of like, okay, this is what you do. We've got the marriage, we've got the kids, we've got the house, we've got, we've supported our husbands, we've managed the home while they pursue their career, which is like, not that we've been forced to do anything. This is a joint choice that was made. But now it's like, okay, our kids are needing us differently. We have the bandwidth, and we also realize that we do need to expand ourselves in a way that we haven't been doing for the past 20 years. And so I feel like kind of you are one that really relates to this shift of like, how do we navigate this from we're the day-to-day parents, it's like when our kids need us every second of every day, and that's just how it is when you have little kids, or whenever you're not actively at work, all of your energy, and then it kind of shifts into they don't need you. You're kind of a little bit more of like a part-time hands-on parent, and then part-time seeing what they do. And it's like, it's in that stage where we have that bandwidth. And I feel like It's a tough place to be.
It's tricky because we were babies having babies.
Mm-hmm.
And so, while we were raising these little people, we were growing up alongside them. I'm a vastly different mom with my youngest than I was with my oldest because I just, again, more life experience, more wisdom, more understanding, more patient than I did with my first because there was those expectations of it's got to look a certain way. I was just shy of my 21st birthday when I got married, thinking, oh, babies are going to be years out. And we're a few months in going, why wait? We just felt like we needed to start our family. And I'm going, what? We've been married for just a few months and we're going to start this family. And, I'm barely getting to know you and we're barely getting to know us as a couple. And we're going to introduce children to all of this, but I'm living in this weird space where I thought, gosh, I probably should have been married till I was 30. But I'm so grateful that I was young because now we do have that opportunity at this age, and that I would call it a luxury to be able to reevaluate and say, I'm actually just getting started. I spent the first 40 years of my life, 20 of it taken up with childhood, because really that's what it was, living at home, learning, going to school, all of those things. And then you hit 20 and I was wife and 21 mom. And so that next 20 years has been mom. And so I'm looking at the next 40 plus years of my life going, and I'm only halfway done. But I don't have that training ground of childhood, adolescence, young mom. I'm full grown woman now who gets to make decisions based on what the future looks like. And so we get to do that because when your kids leave, the whole point, as hard as it is for us to admit, we really raised them to be able to start their own families and to start their own little unit, just like each of us did. And that was hard for our parents to admit when we moved out and started our own family unit. So I'm still always going to be mom one day, maybe soon. I mean, I've got a daughter getting married in a couple of weeks. I could be grandma potentially in the next couple years, and so looking at that, those are roles and those are titles that I will always have and responsibilities that I will always get to carry, but they look so different. My days are not wiping noses, wiping bums, tying shoes, carpooling and taxiing. It's going to be conversations in the car with my adult children who live in different states based on college or marriage or any of those things. And so it's just filling my days with something new. What is that?
Yeah.
What does that look like,
And I feel like a lot of women are trying to search for that. Like, I love that law enforcement has been what you have really been led to do. I feel like there are a lot of women who are more in a limbo place where they're just like, okay, what am I supposed to be doing with my life? And then also feeling kind of the conflict of I should know, or I'm so behind, or how do I even get started with something? And I feel like, I don't know, we just need to like normalize that. Normalize
not knowing.
Not knowing. And it's like, nobody knows. Like I'm talking to, I've talked to so many of my friends, my peers, and whatever their path has been, whether it's been college, career, yes or no marriage, yes or no children. At this stage, it's like everybody is really reevaluating. But I feel like for somebody similar to me or, you a year ago, where it's just like, what am I supposed to be doing? Like, I want to have something that feels meaning and purpose beyond my wife and mother duties and callings.
Right.
And so trying to figure that. And then also like realizing that I'm not behind, even though it kind of feels like it. Like if I were to say like, okay, I want to go get a job and I want to be able to support my family, heaven forbid something happens to my husband and I am the sole provider in the family. Like, what am I going to do?
What am I going to do?
What am I going to do? Like I did finish college. I have a degree in marriage, family, and human development, which is really, really broad. I did social work for, 8 years. Do I want to go back to that? Not necessarily.
No.
But, it's just kind of scary to think of all the what ifs and figuring out like, anything could happen. Just before hitting record, I was looking on Instagram. There's a girl that I follow, and she posted something about we need to normalize, talking about this taboo thing of what if you're the stay-at-home mom and suddenly your marriage ends. She was kind of alluding to like a sudden end of a marriage. Like, are you prepared to be able to step into that provider role as well? And I'm like, absolutely I'm not,
I don't want to think about that. No, but two, I mean, a word that you kept using, which I am so guilty of, and I think most of us are, is the word supposed to, or I guess the words supposed to. But we need to almost, I think, get rid of that and toss that idea of, so what am I supposed to do? According to whom?
Yeah.
You're a grown
According
woman.
to what has been modeled through the media, what we've accepted as this is the pattern, this is the order that we do things, and this is the timeline. And I think you're right. Tossing out the timeline or realizing the timeline can be different for everybody, and that's okay.
Well, the time's going to pass anyways. You can look at something, because that was, today, my lieutenant, I'm sitting at a desk and he's in his office and he says, okay, do you want to know when you'll be off it's called being off the program. So essentially when I'm fully trained, the training wheels have come off and I get to be my very own little baby officer. And he said, April 6th. And I just sat there and went, it's July.
It's July. That's a long time.
Counting out those times in my head, and I thought, oh my gosh, that is going to be more than a year. I started March 24th of 2025. Okay. And with all of my sidelining and everything, it's looking like April 6th of 2026. And you just kind of go, oh. But then the thought comes, the time passes anyways. The time is there. I mean, I know that we have limited time, but the time is going to pass. And so this idea of being behind, who are we behind? Who are we racing? Who am I standing next to? Whose race am I running? You're running your own. This is your path. And then I know that for those of us who have been raised in a religious home, the idea that, God has a plan, God has a purpose for your life. And so when we hear the word plan, we look at a very practical application of plan. Because if I'm going to plan something, I have bullet points and dates and times for going on vacation. I've made a plan. And this is what's going to happen. And this is when, and this is where, and this is how, and this is who's going to attend. And so when I think, what am I supposed to do? What does God want me to do? What am I supposed to be doing this? It's almost like I'm saying, okay, that plan you have for me, is that on there? As if God has our life planned out, date, time, location, activity. And so that's where that, I think, supposed to comes into play, where we are so afraid to make a decision and just, this is a decision. I'm moving forward. I'm not doing anything bad. I'm not doing anything wrong or hurtful to somebody. Of course, God could step in and say, this, I'm going to protect you. There's something that I see bigger that you don't yet see, so I will protect you from this. But I think so many of us are afraid to start something because we're afraid that it is not in this magical, arbitrary, secret plan that God has for our life, instead of just doing it. And so I think that's where that supposed to has to kind of get kicked to the curb.
And realizing that what arbitrary measuring stick are we using? I feel like that's something that needs to be talked about more, and not feeling like we're in this free fall of, I missed the boat, or who am I and how am I going to figure this out? That's a really important shift in mindset.
Again,
I know
whose
that
race are we running? Who are we competing with? I don't want to live someone else's life. So why would I take what they're doing as a measuring stick for my own? You know what I mean? Like, I am so grateful you're doing this podcast. I love it. I'm so excited to see it grow and all the things you're going to do with it. I could never. I mean, this is taking everything I have to even be out here, because I'm incredibly awkward. I know that. And I'm going, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. Oh, erase this. You're going to have to start this over. That's just not where my talent lies. But this is where your talent is. So if I sat here and I sulked because I didn't have this as a talent. And oh, I'm so behind Chrissy because look at all that she's accomplishing. I would never succeed because I can't measure myself against you. It's not where I have a talent, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Sure, like there is no way that I want to put on a vest when it is 97 degrees and 100%
run
humidity.
away from danger.
You'd be surprised.
Seriously,
You'd
I would run
probably
away
run
from the danger. I'd be like, absolutely not.
Like,
No, I'd freeze. I'd be like,
you just lay down
danger.
and take it. Be like, just whatever. Just do what you got to do.
seriously, I would not be able to meet the expectation. I do know that. Okay, so at this age, we have the bandwidth to figure out what we want in life, but also I feel like one thing that we need to realize is how important our friendships are. When you think about all the different things, like our children, we raise our children, they move on, in their own lives with spouses, with careers. They're not always going to be your little people right next to you, and that's just not the way it's supposed to be, right? I think of like my mom. So my mom is in her late 60s, and she has these friends. I call them jokingly the secret combinations, and like they are so important to each other, and they have been such an immense strength for each other. And I feel like this is the age where we really, really need to establish those connections. Like this is when you're meeting people, these are your friends who are going to walk with you through this next phase of life and, beyond. I think it can be hard. There are a lot of people who maybe finding friends or feeling like they find, their tribe. That's not an easy thing to find.
No.
I know when I talked to Chelsea, who was like, she's your soul sister, your best friend. She's talked about how friends have been kind of a challenging thing to like find her people until recent years. And now she's, finding all these wonderful, wonderful people. How do you feel like that has been, and what do you want to be seeing in your life in the future?
I've been so fortunate my entire life to be surrounded by the most phenomenal women that have inspired me to do better and to be better. But I think, as a young mom, I was in this situation where my husband was always gone because of work and school, night school, working in a hospital on nights and weekends. And that was just sort of a life that a lot of women didn't quite understand, because it was like, oh, well, let's all go out to dinner with our spouses. I never got to participate in those things. And so it just felt very isolating, because I just didn't get to participate in those things. And in high school, I was kind of just one of the guys. I was just kind of sort of, rough and tumble and super awkward. And guys were just kind of easier friends. And so to go from there to marriage and to try and navigate female relationships and fumble my way through those. Again, I had wonderful women surrounding me that were very gracious and kind to me and showed me so much love and friendship, but now I'm in this phase where these friendships are a lifeline for me, where they're a necessity in my life. I love my husband. He's wonderful. But to expect him to sit and chat about the same thing 3,000 times is just not, it's not that exciting. I know that Ben would be like, okay, are we talking about this again?
Seriously.
And, really, have we not moved on from this? But as women, we have this ability somehow to discuss the same thing 12,000 times, and it's still just as fascinating as it was the first time we discussed it. And so we get this sisterhood, this understanding with one another that we cannot get anywhere else, that we can't expect anyone else to give us. And, oh, my kids did this in the stress, but also the successes. Look at what my kids did. And we are so excited when our kids are succeeding also. And just having that, it's like, I had mentioned before that, I've got a daughter getting married. And I'm sitting here going, gosh, my family, my birth family, and my in-laws and all of that, they're scattered all over everywhere. And they are, of course, dropping everything, and they're coming and they are participating. But I have just as many friends here, my Tennessee family, my Tennessee people that are coming and supporting and cheering on and dropping things to be able to come and to help. And I couldn't do it without these friendships that I've developed now to support us in our good times and our hard times and everything in between.
You know, you said the things that our husbands don't really want to talk about or really wouldn't be a great sounding board. Like, do they really want to talk about perimenopause? Do our husbands really want to talk about perimenopause? No.
I mean, Kevin will,
no.
because he's a nurse, but he's being so patient. But honestly, I don't know that I want to talk to him about it. I want to call you guys and be like, I'm so hot.
I know everything. It's like every weird thing that's happening in my body, in my head is like, is it the peri? The other day, gosh, Christy, who has been on this podcast, she and I drove to Memphis to pick up our kids from camp. We're in this hotel room because camp pickup is 7 a.m. on a Saturday, which is just so stupid.
4 hours away, you know.
Yeah. So, of course, we went up there the night before. We're sleeping in this hotel room. The hotel room, she's sleeping like a baby. We have our own 2 separate beds. She's, you know, quietly sleeping. And then there's me, and I'm laying like, I am so warm. What is happening? And I'm like, is this a hot flash? Is this it? Is this my life? Is this the next 10 years?
This is how I die.
I'm thinking, I hope this is horrible. And I sent you a clip from Leanne Morgan, who I love her. She's so freaking hilarious.
I wish somebody told me what was headed in my way. I think I could have dealt with it better. Okay, there's a thing that's going to happen to y'all. In your late 30s, early 40s, it can start then. And it comes in the middle of the night, like a ghost. And it's called perimenopause. And nobody talks about it. And they should, because it lasts 10 years. Y'all's hormones will be similar to a middle school girl. Do you remember that, Hara? Okay, that's perimenopause. You'll know you're in it when all of a sudden you'll start sweating here and here at night, and you'll wake up and your hair will look like chicken fuzz. And there's nothing you can do about it.
Comes in like a ghost. Comes in like a ghost.
It does.
And it's, oh gosh.
Well, and whose bright idea was it to be navigating perimenopause and teenage hormone, why must those things coexist? Because it's like, you've got teenage rage and I've got grown woman rage.
Yes.
And they meet in the middle, and you just, why? Worst idea ever.
And then there's the expectation of you as a parent are supposed to be calm, composed. You are the even keeled. You are the calm waters. And inside you're just like, everything's happening. You've got the brain fog. I mean, I feel like I'm just hitting the tip of the iceberg with what is starting to happen with me, where I'm just tired, brain fog. Now we've got the random insomnia and like the night sweats. Like, what is this? And
I know,
why?
but I heard the best explanation. This is cougar puberty. Because it made such a good laugh when I read that. They're like, cougar puberty. And I was like, that is so fitting as a 44-year-old woman going, well, I fit in both categories. So, But it's like this whole, you know, it's like your body and your mind and your feelings are no longer your own. They're being controlled by some other entity, and you have no idea when you're going to be smacked in the face with it. And you just have to roll with it. And you think, I'm not old enough. And they're like, well, really, it starts when you're 35. And I'm like, I am almost 10 years into this. What? But then also at the same time, I look at these women in their 30s and I'm like, oh, you don't even know.
Just you wait.
Welcome to the club, baby. When they're like, oh, you guys are so old. And I'm like, you're 35. You're in it. You're in it
Seriously.
with us. You know, join the club, baby.
Yeah. Gosh. And it's like, I feel like when we were growing up, perimenopause, that wasn't a term, that wasn't a phrase, that wasn't a word. Like, no. I don't remember my mother ever saying the words perimenopause. So, I mean, maybe our mother's generation just had to like suffer in silence. And now at least we have a word to describe kind of what we're feeling.
Yes, 20 years of eternal hell.
I remember when I had my very first period and crying and being like, Mom, this is like the next 50 years of my life. And she was like, yeah, sorry. You know, me just like crying about it. And so now, you know, I'm slowly getting to the other end. I mean, who knows how long everything is going to be, but it's just like, here we go.
I know. You know, we complain about having it and then we're complaining about getting rid of it. Like, are we never happy?
Just like the plight of womanhood. This is just part of it.
It's car tweezers. Remember, we were having that conversation. Yes. There is a woman on Instagram that I absolutely love. And we are part of the I Don't Care Club. And they have chapters. like the
my
Tennessee
sister,
chapter.
somebody sent me this.
Yes.
The I Don't
but
Care
she's like,
Club.
I have car tweezers because I am at a stoplight and it is the perfect light to see the hairs that are now growing out of my chin. And if you see me plucking my chin hairs at a stoplight, mind your business. We do not care. And she'll cross it off and she'll move on to the next thing. And I'm like, I have car tweezers. I have arrived. I have car tweezers and home tweezers and
car tweezers. Because, there's the random jerk chin hair that just decides to like pop up.
You catch it and you're like, and then you're completely distracted. You can't even hear what anybody's saying after that because now you're like, do they see? Just because then all of a sudden you barely feel it and you're like,
it's there. Got to get the tweezers.
Got to get it.
No, it's so offensive. It's like, how dare this be happening?
I know.
I don't know. I hoped I was like exempt from it, but it's like, nope. If you're an adult female and you're going through this. A year ago, I was, having a panic of when my kids are grown, what am I going to do with my life? And then I remember, Ben saying, oh, it's going to be okay. But just a few months ago, Ben and I, we were on our trip. We went to Italy for our 20th anniversary, and it was wonderful. And I was talking to this lady who we were at a cooking class, and I think she was from Atlanta or something. And she was talking about how she's an empty nester and how it's the most wonderful, amazing time. She's like, I go dancing 3 to 4 nights a week. I do whatever I want. Fun. And it was such a refreshing perspective of like, oh, this is the time, when your kids are raised, when they're leaving the house, when they don't need you in the same way. It's like, it's not the time to think, oh, life is over, or what am I supposed to do with myself? It's like, gosh, I need to have the perspective of this lady who is just like, oh no, you are free. You can do what you want. You can focus on yourself. You can do all these things. And that to me was really refreshing of like, oh wow, it doesn't have to be me floundering and feeling like, what is my life when I'm not raising my children?
But too, I think, and maybe it's just me, but I look at where I think, what am I going to do? It feels like I have to have this big plan, and it's going to be like, I'm going to make a decision. And then that's the decision I have to stick with for the next 20 years. And I'm learning that, especially, like getting hurt. Okay, you have to pivot. You have to be willing to pivot. You have to be willing to change. And I can sit there and I can reinvent what the next 20 years looks like every 2-3 days if I want to. If I decide one day that I want to be a house troll and I no longer want to get ready for the day, I do that. And I want to be in my robe and I want to read my books and I am going to drink my Diet Coke and I am going to just live my best life sitting on the couch. And that is what the next 20 years is going to look like. And then 2 weeks from that, I think, that was a good break, but that actually doesn't fulfill me. I don't want to do that forever. What is my next adventure? Mm-hmm. And so I think looking at, like what that woman said, gosh, this is so great. I get to do all those things. And so we've been sitting in the supposed to mindset when we probably should be sitting in the I get to mindset. I get to make a new choice today on what I do today. And it may only last today, but this is the choice I'm going to do today. What is tomorrow going to look like? I don't know, but I get to choose that. And so, living more in that mindset of just because we make a decision doesn't mean we have to stick with it. Doesn't mean, and that's been the hardest thing for me is because in my mind it was, well, you don't stick with it. I remember one time distinctly, I was talking to my mom and she said, well, you just get bored and you move on to the next thing. And I was devastated by that. To be honest, I kind of sat there and I had to really reflect on, is that why I keep moving on to the next thing? Have I gotten bored? Have I just moved on? And I called my sister going, you would never believe what mom said, as you do sometimes. And she said, okay, calm down. That's not what she meant, and I'm like, I know, but I just, we hear what we want to hear. And she said, you try something, you learn it, and then you decide whether or not that's for you or not for you. And if you decide it's not for you, then you've been able to just move on and try the next thing. And so it gave me just a perspective shift that says we get to do that. We get to figure out what the next 20, 30, 40 years, 50 years or more looks for. You know, how cool that we get to do that.
And that we're not locked in, because gosh, if I did my first career aspiration, I wanted to be an astronaut. That's what I wanted to do when I was a kid. And then I saw Apollo 13 and I was like, not for me. And then, you know, go on, so on and so forth. But like, you know, I majored in what I did at school because I wanted to be a therapist. But guess what? I realized that's not what I want to do. And there is a little bit of free fall of like, okay, what do I want to do with my life? I don't know. I've done a lot of little things. And the cool thing is, it's like, I don't have to have it figured out. Even though my brain is telling me I should have it figured out, like having these reminders and normalizing that it's like, oh no, I'm doing just fine. I have 4 final questions for you, same ones that I do every episode. So first question, what's your first concert?
It was Dixie Chicks Fly, which totally dates
Ooh.
me. But I have admitted I'm 44, so I mean, I guess we can do that. But yes, it was Dixie Chicks Fly, and they were in Vegas. Yeah, that was the first concert I ever went to.
That's so cool. What about the best concert that you've ever been to?
Okay, so the best concert wasn't necessarily because I loved who I saw, but it was the overall experience. So last year for Brinley's 19th birthday, she really wanted to go to a concert and she wanted to see AJR. So at first I was like, AJR, but you know that sound bite that everybody does that let's skip to the good part?
Can we skip to the good part?
That is AJR. And so I was like, oh, I actually know all their music, but I mean, it wasn't like a fan or anything. They're coming to Nashville. I really want to go. And so we bought tickets. I was 2 weeks out from having an abdominal surgery. And I'm thinking, I don't know that I'm going to make this. And somehow I was okay. And we drove to Nashville and we had the best time. We sang and we danced and we went out to eat. And so it was the whole experience. They put on a freaking awesome show, but then it was the fact that I got to be with my daughter and that she wanted me to be there with her. And so that is another benefit of being a young mom, is that when you're in your early 40s and they're coming into their 20s, you get to shift into that friend relationship. And so it was so much fun. We had the best time.
Love that so much. What actor would you want to play you in a movie?
Okay, that's so easy. It's Sara Rafferty. She played Donna on Suits. She's got red hair, which I sometimes do. But oh my gosh, Donna is this dynamic, self-confident, just, oh my gosh, I love her so much. And you just don't really understand it until you watch it. But she just like instinctively knows things before they happen. And she can just maneuver. And her wardrobe was amazing. So yes. So look up Sara Rafferty.
All right. So final question. What have you found at 40?
It's not too late. If you want to do it, try it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But it's never too late to try.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. Thank you so
Thanks
much
for
for coming
having
on
me.
here. I just cannot wait to like see where this journey takes you, because it's going to be
Me
amazing.
either.
It's going to be so, so cool.
I'm excited to see what happens. So again,
Awesome.
it's never too late. So we'll see how it goes.
It's going to be great.